Welcome to a fall Saturday afternoon matinee from the racetrack. We're coming to you from Dover International Speedway, where there will be 39 cars on the track and one monster, and many, many, many reasons to watch the title fight. As we close out this season, it is very much turning into an Austin Dillon versus Sam Hornish Jr. battle. And the monster, affectionately known as Miles, just might play a role in which one of those two hoists the trophy when we get down to Miami and who has to sit back and watch. The short track that races like a big track in both speeds and how it produces the wrecks that we sometimes see. Hello from inside the Quicken Loans ESPN pit studio. I'm Nicole Briscoe alongside Rusty Wallace and Brad Doherty. As we get ready to close out this season, there are only 6 races left, and if you take a look at the points, whew, there are 3 drivers separated by fewer than 1 race worth of points. There are 5 drivers separated by 60, and the top 2, it's a cozy 15 between them.
It sure is. But I'll tell you, Sam Hornish, I'm looking at him. He seems like he's the guy that's got everything in control. He doesn't make any mistakes. He's rock solid out there all the time. He's driving that Penske car, and week after week, you just can't shake the guy. Now, Austin Dillon, that guy's got some catching up to do.
Yeah, he does. And Sam Hornish, I said about 5 weeks ago, it's his championship to lose. I do believe that. But what puts Austin Dillon on par with Sam is his consistency. So Austin continues to be very consistent in qualifying and racing, and he will be there to take advantage of any mistakes that Sam Hornish makes.
What has been interesting, if you're talking about a driver making mistakes, if you look at the standalone events, which is what we had last weekend in this nationwide series, Sam Hornish Jr. has been able to capitalize on those standalone weekends when there are fewer Cup drivers in the field. I want to talk about the other championship that is on the line as we close out this season, and that is the Owners' Championship, which has been really fun to watch over the last 14 weeks. We're talking about the battle between the 54 of Joe Gibbs Racing and the 22 of Penske Racing. What was once what we really thought an insurmountable lead for the 54 is now a deficit for that team, and they're looking up at the 22. But here's what I think is perhaps the most interesting part of that story. Kyle Busch and the 54 have gone to victory lane 10 times this season. The 22 car has gone to victory lane 10 times this season as well, but with 4 different drivers.
Yeah, they've really been able to put a lot of quality race car drivers in a very, very good race car. And I think Kyle Busch is still trying on the Cup side to focus on winning that championship. Joey Logano is down at the bottom trying to win the Cup championship, and Brad Keselowski's out of it. So I think the advantage goes to Penske.
I'll tell you what, Brad, I disagree a little bit, though, because the 54 car, Kyle Busch, they've announced that Kyle's going to be in that car every single race to the end of the year.
That's right.
And that guy's been winning most of the races. So you've got to believe Nicole and Brad.
Yep.
He can run that 22 car down and catch him.
And you would think that maybe he could get it done here today, except for there's one other driver in the field that has been so good at Dover, and that driver just so happens to be the driver behind the 22, and that is Joey Logano. No one has been better than him at this racetrack in the last 3 races here. Logano has won 3 straight, and then, oh, by the way, he's the pole sitter today as well.
So I'm about to counteract myself what I just said.
Yeah.
The 22 car, you're right. This team is so good, and Joey has won so many races. So let's talk about this particular race. Joey's probably got the upper hand right here, but from here on out, that 54 car, I'm telling you, is going to be strong.
Yeah, Joey's been dominant the last 3 races at this racetrack, and the 2 previous races, I mean, absolutely dominated the lap count as well. I expect him to win this race today if nothing goes wrong.
Let's talk to the pole sitter, Dr. Jerry Punch.
And you're talking about Joey Logano and how good he has been here. Pole sitter today, 3 in a row, Joey. You've not just won these races, you've dominated by leading over 400 laps the last 3 races here. What is it about this track that fits your driving style so well?
I think there's a lot of things. I drove 2 really good cars with all those wins, and you know, I feel like this racetrack is something, you know, one of those tracks that you really know what it takes to win at when you're setting up your race car, and giving the crew chief the best information you can, because the track changes from practice to the race so much, and knowing that offset and what you need, I think is really important. And you know, I feel like the spring race, we were probably a 2nd or 3rd place car, and we were able to win on strategy. This time I feel like I got even better Hertz Ford here that can win this thing today. So we'll have to try to keep this clean air and have the right strategy, like I said, and hopefully be in victory lane for 4th time.
Hey, good luck today.
Thank you.
Trying to hang on to that Owners' Championship points lead right now. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Kyle Busch is telling me that things could be a lot better here in about 2 hours, but your crew chief, Adam Stevens, told me you guys are pretty good in practice, but the balance needed to be a little bit better. What do you still need?
Well, it's just you kind of fight the old typical Dover feel here. You know, when the racetrack's green, you feel like you got really good grip, and then as soon as the rubber gets laid down, you just start sliding over that. And it's not hard to control that. It's just frustrating to have to control that. You know, you'd rather be planted in the racetrack and be feeling really good. But we'll see how this Monster Energy Camry handles here in a little bit. But I think things will be okay with us, and you know, we should race to the front, chase those guys down, and race them a little bit, hopefully. But you know, want it to be really good here in about 2.5 hours, and be right over there in victory lane.
All right, 3-time winner here in the Nationwide Series. Let's go to Dave Burns.
Sam Hornish's consistency has earned him the championship lead. 13 of 27 starts have ended in top 5 finishes. So, Sam, the question I had, though, was March was the last win. So how motivated are you guys to get another W before the end of the season?
Well, we're motivated, and we work hard at it. And I think that we showed how much we were trying last week to get that win. And it just, you got to take it when you can. And, yeah, we're running for the points championship. We want to win races and things like that, but we also have to be smart. Our snap-on Ford Mustang is pretty good today, or at least in qualifying it was. Practice yesterday was good. I feel like we just need to be smart about it, and I love running here at Dover. It hasn't been super great to me in the past, but I think we're going to have a great opportunity to go out here and have a strong showing, and we'll win them if we can, but at the end of the day, we also have to be smart about it. Remember what our main goal is for the year.
Smart and fast. Sam Hornish starts second today here at Dover. Vince?
And the man chasing Sam Hornish in the championship is this guy, Austin Dillon. 6 weeks to go, 6 races left. What do you have to do? What do you have to capitalize on these final 6 races to be the champion?
You know, I think it's just staying consistent. We do our job for the next 6 weeks. We'll have a great shot at this championship. Making mistakes are what hurts you in this points deal, and we've done a good job this year of being consistent, and we all want to win, but we know what we're racing for, and that's that championship trophy. If we could get that one at the end of the year, it'd be huge. So I want to thank Advocare, Nationwide Insurance, Tag Heuer Eyewear, everybody that helps us out each weekend to get us here, and I think we got a really good hot rod today.
Should be fun to watch. That's Austin Dillon. Nicole?
The 4 drivers we just heard from, 4 of your top 5. Austin Dillon starts 3rd. Alex Bowman 4th. Kyle Busch 5th. Race fans, make sure to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy for all that you need to fully enjoy today's race. Live chat, live leaderboard, extra cam reviews. It's RaceBuddy at NASCAR.com. And when we come back, keys to the race. Stay on the Munster's good side and play nice with lap traffic. We shall explain next. Ready to get this afternoon fully underway? Who's ready for 200 miles, 200 laps from the watchful eye of the monster? All right, well, Brad is. So are we. Let's go trackside for pre-race ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the Dover Air Force Base Honor Guard presents our nation's colors and remain standing as Dover Air Force Base Chaplain Captain Joshua Rumsey offers today's invocation.
Heavenly Father, I ask for your protection on everyone here today, both spectators and participants. May the teams put forward their best efforts and excellence be on display for all to see. I ask you to remind us the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and virtue is more valuable than victory. In the most holy name of God's only Son, I pray. Amen.
And here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Kristen Moore, the proud military spouse of Colonel Rick Moore, the commander of Dover Air Force Base's 436th Air Wing Command.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
say this, it's not often we see a toothbrush on the grid during pre-race ceremonies.
Dental is very important at the race.
We'll get this race going and fire those engines in just a few seconds, and then we will explain lap traffic and playing nice with the monster, how it's done when we come back.
Oh, yeah.
A perfect fall Saturday at the racetrack. Welcome back as we get ready to go from Dover International Speedway. Final thoughts from you two?
Because of the high banks and the concrete surface, this monster can eat you up and spit you out. And I'm telling you what, because of that, there are going to be some big crashes today, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's so fast. We get spread out. The leaders get in the lap traffic very, very quickly. That could create a lot of issues throughout the day.
Well, let's get over to the guys in the booth. It's Alan Bestwick, Andy Petrie, and Dale Jarrett. The floor is yours, my friends.
Nicole, thanks. And following up on what Rusty said, this racetrack is one of the few places we go where the speedway itself is one of the stars of the show. It's fun, but at times for the drivers, it's frightening too.
Yeah, if you have a good car, it can be a lot of fun turning laps around here at high rates of speed. But you can see by this graphic, the amount of banking in the corners here, much more than what we see at Phoenix and New Hampshire, creates a lot of speed. There's 9 degrees of banking on the straightaways, which can create problems also if you're trying to miss accidents and on restart. So a lot of things happening here today. They go downhill into the corners, uphill out of the corners, carrying a lot of speed in both of those instances. And as Brad pointed out, somewhere along the way today, lap traffic is going to create a lead change. Could it be that last one for the win?
So a lot of problems unique to this racetrack for the drivers to deal with throughout the day. Something that's a story at many tracks that'll be a huge factor today for the crew chiefs getting the strategy right.
Yeah, that strategy is always an issue. When you come to a concrete surface like this, the tires kind of hold speed pretty well, and it opens up opportunities for strategy. We saw in June that Kyle Busch had the best car. Looked like he had the best strategy. He got 4 tires. You'd think he'd be able to maybe get these tires, have the advantage on the restart. But he came out 10th. These other 3 guys beat him out on 2 tires, and he was not able to come back but to about 5th place. So it doesn't matter how fast your car is. If you don't make that decision right at the right time, it can cost you a win here.
That on the final pit stop of the race with 37 laps to go in June. The dominant driver, they didn't get the call right, and they didn't win the race. So Kyle Busch will try and avenge that today and try and stop Joey Logano's efforts to set an all-time Dover mark. No one has ever won 4 straight races here at this racetrack. Not Richard Petty, not Jimmy Johnson, no one in any of the divisions that compete here. Joey Logano's going to try and become the very first today. Drivers are buckled in down along the grid, and we're getting set to go back trackside for the command to start them up.
Race fans, please welcome from 5 Hour Energy, Justin Blackman and Lynn Petersmark, and from Living Beyond Breast Cancer, Gene Sachs, Kevin Giannato, and Karen Fries, as they will deliver the most famous words in all of motorsports.
Fire up! Driver, start your engines!
Ready to go on a spectacular September afternoon here in Delaware's capital city. The field of drivers will roll off onto the Monster Mile shortly and begin the parade and pace laps. And while we're on those parade and pace laps, we'll talk with our ESPN in-race reporter for the day. He's Trevor Bayne, driving for Roush Fenway Racing, finished 4th here in the race back in June. Trevor Bayne up next when we come back to Dover. Live at Dover International Speedway, field of cars for today's NASCAR Nationwide Series 200-miler rolling out onto the Monster Mile. The 3 parade and pace laps before the green flag waves to get things underway. Trevor Bayne, our ESPN in-race reporter, has got a little work to do if he's going to get to the front and get his 2nd win of the season, starting 18th.
Yeah, we'll see what he's got to say about that. Trevor, Dale Jarrett, you have a minute to talk?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks for talking with us. Trevor, our first question comes from our mailbag, and Thomas from Annapolis, Maryland asks, how physically demanding is it to race this track, and does the term Monster Mile truly describe it?
It definitely lives up to its name here. This place is probably one of the toughest ones to drive. It's one of the hardest places to get speed out of the car, especially on corner exits. You'll see the cars coming up out of the corner all day long, sideways, moving around a lot, and that's kind of where you have to leave yourself some room and make sure you don't get yourself in trouble. That extra foot, it'll come up quick on you, so you got to be careful there on exit.
Trevor, you've qualified 18th, got a little ground to make up there, but back in June you had your best finish of 4th here. You have the car to get up there and make it happen and try to go for a win today.
Everybody's been really competitive this season, and it's getting tougher and tougher every week, but I feel like this weekend our car drove way better than it did here in the spring. Yesterday it was really fast and had some good things to it. The best thing being the exit, like I was just talking about. I could really trust it, and it was predictable. So hopefully that'll come to us here in the race. Qualifying wasn't exactly what we wanted, but I think it's nothing we can't make up and go up here and win this race today.
All right, Trevor, thanks for talking. Hope you have a great afternoon. Now Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Mike Kelly.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Mike Kelly, Andy Petrie in the booth. Hope you're having a great day so far.
Well, Andy, if we qualified a little better, it'd be a little better, but we're here in Dover and going to have a really good race today.
Yeah, Mike, you do have a little ground to make up. What kind of strategies or what kind of opportunities for strategy are you looking for today to try to make some of that up?
Well, after what happened here in the spring race where a lot of people saw Kyle struggle when he took 4 at the end, I would bet most people are going to put 2 on Austin, and maybe that's all they'll do. So where we started, we're going to have to come up with a little different plan. Maybe put 4 on earlier. Have to do something different. We got to get some track position somehow, some way. Our driver will do a good job, and we'll get ourselves up there. But we'll get it figured out here.
I'm sure you will, Mike. We'll keep an eye on you. Thanks for talking to us. Good luck.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Championship-winning crew chief Mike Kelly calling the shots for Trevor Bayne today. High-definition onboard views riding today with Austin Dillon and our Advocare on board.
Hey, Timmy, you ready to wheel that horse? Yeah! Or, bud. We're ready to watch you. Have some fun today.
Hopefully it's as fun as that. Trevor Bayne's got our nationwide insurance on board. Regan Smith, the Chevy on board. Sam Hornish, the Ford EcoBoost camera. Brian Vickers has the Sunoco on board. Joey Logano has our Goodyear on board.
You got to switch later? Yeah, you can go right to the top if you want. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything.
Choosing the outside lane for the start as the pole sitter. Kevin Harvick's got the nationwide insurance on board, and Kyle Busch has our Toyota on board. Final updates on some of the top stories in the race. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, it was back in May of 2008 when then 18-year-old Joey Logano made his debut in this series right here at Dover, Delaware. Now, since that time, he has won 20 races, including the last 3 in a row here. Of those 20 wins, 15 have come with Kyle Busch in the field, and 8 of those, he had to pass Kyle Busch in the final lap to win it. Expect nothing different here today. Jamie Little.
And Kyle Busch is back in the 54, much to the chagrin of his competitors. Well, he's in the car the remainder of the year. I talked to his crew chief, Adam Stevens, and he told me he feels they can win the next 6 races. But if they want to win today, the balance must be better than it was in practice. Dave Burns?
Jamie, these Dover corners can be a real danger zone for championship leader Sam Hornish today. That's because the closing rate on lap traffic is so fast. Some cars slower than 3 seconds compared to the fast cars. Sam told me the problem is they don't take just one line sometimes. They take 1, 2, or 3 different lines, and I have to make those moves and try to avoid them. And a wrecked car can make a wrecked championship for Sam Hornish. Vince Welch.
Austin Dillon started on the pole here in June, but they lost a handle on the car in the second half of the race, and he finished 8th. If he's to cut into that championship deficit today, crew chief Danny Stockman is going to have to make the right calls both with the race car and on strategy. There's 6 races to go, Alan, and there is no room for error.
Well, will this monster of a mile cost Dillon or Hornish in their close fight for the championship? And can Joey Logano set a new record by winning 4 straight at this tough old racetrack? Logano has chosen the outside lane for the start. 200 miles, 200 laps are on the Monster Mile, and we're ready for the 28th race of the NASCAR Nationwide Series season. Who's going to win it?
Wow, Hornish. Sam Hornish there.
Even Logano bobbing a little bit off turn 4 as he leads lap 1.
We're going to see it all day on the exit of these corners. He carries so much speed on the exit and make good laps so that you don't get passed down the straightaway or into the next corner. You have to stay wide open in the throttle if possible.
Kyle Busch there, 54 to the outside of Austin Dillon in the 3. Expecting Kyle to be the one to run up and challenge Joey Logano for this win. That's been the story of the summer of 2013. 54 and 22 as teams have won 9 of the last 10 Nationwide Series races combined.
Yeah, right in front of them in third, though, with a great qualifying effort. Alex Bowman did a fantastic job. Had a good run at Kentucky last weekend, too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, his car looks fast, but it doesn't look all that stable. He's using that outside lane. Looks like he's got a little problem on the late exit right there.
Yeah, as he still passes cars.
I know.
Kyle Busch through to third. And Austin Dillon now trying Alex Bowman for that spot. Remember, Dillon and Sam Hornish just 15 points apart starting the day. 6 races to go in the Nationwide Series Championship. And this is a racetrack where one slip can cost you big.
Yeah, it can. You can see just how narrow these straightaways are. Really nowhere for, if there's a wreck in front of you, it's almost impossible to miss it.
Yeah, with that 9 degrees of banking, everything just seems to funnel right in front of wherever it is that you try to go. And we many times see you might hit the outside wall and then the inside wall, so it makes it difficult. This is difficult, too, in trying to make a pass here because you need all of this room to run the lap and to stay in the throttle on the exit of the corner. If you have to back out of the throttle just a little bit, you can see you just can't clear them there.
And while you heard Dillon there,
yep.
Check up on the gas. And while they're racing side by side, the top 3 are getting away.
It's really a momentum racetrack, too. You want to try to carry speed right through the middle of the corner. See, right there in the middle, I saw a wiggle out of that 3 car of Austin Dillon.
You have to be careful not to get too frustrated here as a driver, too. You might be, and here's the lap traffic already playing into play.
70 car is Brad Teague.
And you see, just like Dave Burns said, there's such a big difference in speed. When you have 3 seconds a lap, or even more sometimes, it can cause a problem.
So Dillon got through. Brad Sweet got through. Now there's Mike Bliss in the 19. Great qualifying run by Mike. 6th on the grid in that 19 car. And Brian Vickers in the 20 trying to follow through and keep that bottom lane open underneath Alex Bowman.
Yeah, you really have to attack this racetrack, and I think that's something I've always watched Mike Bliss and raced against him some, was he's really good at these type racetracks where you really attack. We talk about a lot of drivers that are like that, but this is one he just has a good feel for. You always see him perform well here.
Yeah, Bristol comes to mind, too, where he runs real well. It's another track, high bank, where you have to attack.
More on Mike Bliss from Dave.
I asked him right before drivers start your engines why they were better now than they were in June, where they started 17th and finished 18th. And Mike said, we've just been working on things in the front end of the car. There are faster setups that we had not been using, and they're hard to adjust to. They made some this weekend. Mike adjusted, and as you said, great qualifying run, 6th.
And holding off Brian Vickers for that spot for now.
You can see for the last couple of corners, we talked about the exit, being able to stay in the throttle, and that's where Mike Bliss' car really looks good right there, able to pull away from Brian Vickers just a little bit.
So this going on back in the pack a little bit, while up front, after that opening couple of laps where Sam Hornish tried as hard as he could to find a way to get underneath Joey Logano and claim the lead, it's Logano who held on to the top spot and that all-important clean air. There's the live picture at the front of the pack at Dover. Joey Logano held up by a lap car. Kyle Busch going for the lead.
You just know it's going to happen. We just have so many of these lap cars running so much slower, and all it takes is just catch them at the wrong place, and Logano did that, where he couldn't use up the whole racetrack, stay in the throttle on the exit of the corner. Kyle Busch had a big run. He's been making kind of the high line in 3 and 4, middle lane. I won't call it the high line, but right on the bottom down here and turning the fastest laps.
33 Kevin Harvick, 99 Alex Bowman, 77 Parker Kligerman also working through some of the lap traffic. That's for 8th, 9th, and 10th positions.
We talk about the difficulty of this racetrack just as a driver, and except in the speeds they take. Then you put moving chicanes out there that some of these drivers, they don't know where they're going, and you're supposed to anticipate where that might be. Makes it really difficult.
Yeah, it's almost like you and Brad have seen this movie. Flat traffic's already been a huge issue.
Harvick really trying to make that higher side work, trying to find some grip. What they're trying to do.
Kevin Harvick winner at Atlanta on Labor Day weekend in that 33 car, but does not look like he's got things going the way he wants to in this early part of this one.
Yeah, and he's usually one that you see that one of the last ones to give up running around the bottom, where he works hard to make his car work. But you can see he's just kind of slipping and sliding right now, trying to make that work up there.
Giving up 8th place to Bowman, who's trying to claw his way back a little bit of the ground he lost when he got pinned in that outside lane in the opening laps. Some of that off the pace number there because he was in a side-by-side with the race leader, but still Kevin Harvick already 9.8 seconds behind the new leader, Kyle Busch.
Yeah, wow. It just shows you how quickly you can use it. Sorry, you give up just a little bit, and it takes all, and you lose that ground, and you're already losing ground to the leader. Boy, look at that. Yeah. That car is really violently out of control getting in the corner. One of the things, this racetrack, it just has so much banking and the loads are so high. When you miss the setup, it can really cost you.
So it took Kyle Busch less than 20 laps to get from his starting spot back in 5th up to take the race lead. Those of you who've been watching Oklahoma State and West Virginia, welcome live to Dover as the first caution in the race comes out. Brian Scott in trouble in turn number 2. As we come in live to one of the most difficult and treacherous mile racetracks on the NASCAR circuit. It's called the Monster Mile at Dover. Monstrous banking in both the corners and straightaways. And a duel set up for this race that has played out through the entire summer between Kyle Busch and Joey Logano that's already playing out in the opening moments of this one. More on that in a minute. This is the first caution of the race for Brian Scott, who was running in 12th.
I'll tell you, this track can be really unforgiving sometimes. See Brian Scott up here trying to find some grip, kind of like Kevin Harvick. It's just one of those places that, you know, when your car gets out from under you, you have no control of. It's not like you can just save it.
But he did something that not many do, and that's spin here and not hit something. See right here, he just tried to power back up, and he was trying to carry a lot of speed through the center, and the back just couldn't keep up with that.
All clear. He's trying to wreck. He is spinning out, crosses out.
The pit road open here. 9th place Kevin Harvick was the first one to come in. The front runners did not pit under this early caution flag. The race coverage is going over to ESPN. For those of you who've been watching on ESPN Classic, flip the channel right now. We'll be back to the Monster Mile for the restart. City, where Dover International Speedway is another big place. And right now, the NASCAR Nationwide Series is getting set to go back racing after the first caution of today's 5-hour Energy 200. Main story starting the day. Joey Logano looking for a record 4th straight win at this track. Nobody's ever done that before in any series. Logano trying to become the first. Logano in the Penske 22 and Kyle Busch in the Gibbs 54 have won 9 of the last 10 races. Well, the two teams have between them over the summer. Those two teams in a close fight for the Nationwide Series Owners Championship, and right behind them on the second row in this restart, the 12 of Sam Hornish and the 3 of Austin Dillon in a close fight for the Nationwide Series Drivers' Championship with 6 races to go, including today, and we race today at a most difficult and appropriately named Monster Mile.
Yeah, Mike Kelly has executed a little bit of that strategy he talked about pre-race, trying to get Trevor up from his 18th starting spot. He took 4 tires right there while the leader stayed out.
Go green.
Back there that there's some cars that stayed out in front of those cars that were running from ninth on back with Harvick and them that have tires now, and these others didn't. So that's going to make kind of a traffic jam for a little while.
First of the cars that pitted for the restart was Regan Smith, who restarted 12th. First of the cars that pitted for the restart was Regan Smith, who restarted 12th. Smith in the 7 car. Here he is. So Smith, like Bain, hoping the race runs maybe 10, 15, 20 laps. Then the caution comes out. The guys up front who didn't pit stop, and they'll stay out, try and steal some track position.
Yeah, and it'll work out perfect for them if they do get a quick caution. Vince?
Certainly hearing from Regan what we're hearing from a lot of cars up and down pit lane. No grip. A lot of teams fighting loose. They put on 2 tires, went down on the track bar. We'll see if that helps them out. Remember, they led the championship standings for almost 3 months in the middle of the season. But right now, 3rd in the points, 45 out. They need something big to happen on those 2 drivers in front of them if they're going to have a chance to win the championship down the stretch here.
And Vince, when I talked to Regan on the grid during qualifying, he told me they weren't giving up yet because they lost a 58-point lead in a couple of races this summer, and even though they're 45 behind, those 2 guys in front of them could find a similar fate in these final half-dozen races. Grayson Colwitt there in the 44. There's Kyle Busch, not just out in front, but driving away a little bit from Joey Logano.
Yeah, I think kind of expected that a little bit from coming from that 5th starting spot that he had to run the leader down and make a pass.
Couple of young ones, 99 Alex Bowman, 5 Brad Sweet. At a racetrack that's as tough as this one is, nothing beats experience. Nothing beats a good race car also, but nothing beats experience. And Brad Sweet saying that he just felt so much better here this time than the first time he raced here.
One thing I've seen, though, is the drivers...
Trouble, sorry, Andy, one in the wall in the backstretch. Donnie Neuenberger.
That might be the caution that brings the leaders in.
Could be. The Maryland driver in trouble and brings out our second caution. He was running in 31st place and shows off one of the difficult spots of this racetrack. You talked about how when Brian Scott spun earlier, it's not often you spin and don't hit anything.
Yeah.
But when you get on these straightaways with those walls so close.
Yeah, they're so close, and that banking just takes you down the track. You start spinning. We even saw it with Brian Scott going down the track. You can see right here how that banking just takes you down. You can lock up the brakes, do whatever you want. It wasn't a terribly hard hit, but enough contact to have quite a bit of damage there.
So second caution out, and now we'll see if those leaders who didn't pit at lap 26 decide that lap 36 is a good time to come in.
Some talked about this very type of strategy here, that something, caution somewhere in the 40 lap mark was going to bring them to pit road.
Yeah, it sets them up for 2 more pit stops to finish the race. Expect to see some 2 tire changes here, and expect to see that 6th car and the 7th car stay out and steal some track position like we talked about earlier.
Pit road open here. Kyle Busch stays out. A lot of the others behind him coming in.
Regan Smith, the 7 car, staying out, along with Trevor Bain and Kyle Larson.
It's a big chance when we get a lot of green flag racing at this racetrack.
Yeah. Kyle Busch's team, you're talking about taking a big chance there, yeah. Jamie?
Some good lap times for the 3 of Austin Dillon, saying he's snapping loose on exit, a little bit loose overall, air pressure adjustment, wedge adjustment, and 4 tires. Doc?
12 car, Sam Hornish said he is very free on the bottom of the racetrack. They're talking about right side tires and fuel only, so he is down and away in front of the 22 car. 4 tires for pole sitter Joey Logano. Rubber in the left rear. Logano said, I am free and getting much freer on entry. They had to have a big swing at the 22.
Interesting there.
Yeah, a lot of different strategies right there. You see Kyle Busch staying out on the racetrack. I think he's probably the one that's most vulnerable because he doesn't have good tires. He's got the same ones he started with.
We'll come back to the Monster Mile for the restart. Miles from here in Dover, 1 Eastern on ESPN. And the next NASCAR Nationwide Series event is from the 1.5 Mile Kansas Speedway. Next Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, here on ESPN. There'll be 5 to go in the championship. AAA Insurance NHRA Midwest Nationals this weekend. See qualifying tomorrow morning, 1 a.m. Eastern on ESPN News. And the final eliminations tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Doubled up for the restart. Kyle Busch has not yet pitted in this race. Doc Punch from pit road, and in radio we intercepted from the team telling us that they weren't in a fuel window yet. More on that in a minute. Brian Vickers first off the pit lane on this set of stops. Our green flag restart presented by 5-Hour Energy.
Already seen the real difficulty that you have being on that inside lane and trying to restart here.
That was Pastrana that caught the wall in the 60. Wow, nice save, Brian Scott.
Kidding. Wow. Already had an eventful day. We've got 160 laps to go.
From where Brian Scott bounced off that 60, looks like he's got a fender in on that left rear tire. Or maybe he moved the rear end over when he hit the wall with the right side.
Yeah, I think it's a little both, Alan. And that's not going to last very long on this racetrack.
Pastrana's home track, Travis from Maryland. While up front, a couple of people that played the stay-out pit strategy this time. 7 Regan Smith, 32 Kyle Larson trading a spot. Kevin Harvick trying to follow through.
They got 2 tires on that 26.
And Harvick also stayed out on this last caution, that lead front pit strategy.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch did stay out. They said they couldn't make these next 2 segments with just one more stop, so they were having to stay out here. I think it's going to end up costing them, especially if we get a long green flag run here.
More on the 54 is called to not pit. Here's Doc.
Yeah, guys, the Penske cars, the 22 and 12 can run about 85 laps. Not the case here for Kyle Busch. They're barely at the 80-lap mark, is what I'm being told. So had they pitted, they would have been about 3 to 4 laps short of their fuel window, making it on one more stop. But rather than rolling the dice, they decided to stay out. Plus, Kyle says, I remember what happened here back in June when I pitted, put me back in all that traffic, and I couldn't go anywhere. Well, let's just hedge our bet and stay out front anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a gamble either way for that team. If they were going to gamble on being able to make it on one more stop, or they're going to gamble on this strategy that they'll get a caution when they need it to get gas.
And in the meantime, you're Kyle Busch behind the wheel. You know you've got to make all the time you can here in case you have to make that stop under green.
Yeah, you got to do what you can to stretch that out, because we do get a lot of green flag racing here, and there's the likelihood that in these next 45 laps or so that we could go green to that time, and they'll have to pit under green.
Well, I'd say this, Kyle's doing his part. He's run the fastest laps on the racetrack by far.
He's done that most of the day.
That was an awkward-looking corner for Hornish in the 12. You saw Austin Dillon drive away from him, and there's Alex Bowman going underneath him.
So far, it doesn't look like the 2 tires on the 12 car was to his liking at all. He's battling his car a little bit anyway, but then the 2 tires, and you really don't know exactly what to adjust to your car by putting 2 tires on it. So Sam could be in a position here to where he's just going to have to make what he can and wait for that next time they can get 4 and make some adjustments.
Well, you can see the difference. The 3 car took 4 tires, and he's able to now go on by Sam and put some cars between him and Sam Hornish, his biggest competitor here, and maybe make some points up.
Yeah, exactly what he needs to do.
Joey Logano restarted in 18th position, trying to charge back to the front. He just took 6th place from Travis Pastrana. Now they took the 4 tires there and put the spring rubber, I believe it was the call on the pit stop to make the adjustment on that car.
It's one thing you heard Joey Logano talk about why he's been so successful here at Dover is he knows what he needs in that race car, and he didn't have that in that first run. So he took the time to have the guys make that change and put him in position to be better at the end.
Another one of those things you were talking about, Alan, was that experience of knowing what you need. And until you win races and know exactly what you are looking for in your car, you don't have that. You can always say we were close, but what was going to get us to that next level?
Let's follow up on that 22 car with Doc.
Talk about knowledge of the racetrack. Joey Logano said we were loose and we're getting worse and worse lap after lap. Joey wanted the 4 tires to change the balance of the car, and they made the call, as you said, Alan, to put the spring rubber in the left rear. Totally different race car right now. He is motoring back toward the front.
And one of the problems you have, if you're just going to try to change 2 tires, it's hard to change the balance of the race car because you're leaving those other 2 on it. If you really want to make a change, you almost have to change 4 tires.
So So Logano now trying to challenge Trevor Bayne for 5th place. And talked about Mike Kelly looking to work some strategy for track position after Bayne qualified 18th. Well, he's got him up into the top 5 now. Now they got to play the rest of the race to hold that spot.
Yeah, they've made that leapfrog already. This is a very fast car behind him. He's probably going to lose this spot, but he's in a really good position now in the top 5. And I think Mike Kelly can rest a little easier now. And maybe if this thing goes green a while, it puts him back on even ground with the rest of the guys.
And he might lose this spot, but looking back behind him, there's really nobody else can see that's really coming towards Trevor Bayne right now. So he should be able to run there in 6th spot and then see what they need to adjust on their car to make them maybe a top 3 or 4 car today.
You find it fascinating how strategy has become such a dominant theme of NASCAR racing anymore, and really, as we watch Austin Dillon, the championship contender, try to take a spot from Brian Vickers, the cause of it is competition.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's not, you can talk about, well, the tires are better and the cars are so equal. Yeah, the cars are equal because of how good the teams have become and the drivers in this series and in the Cup Series. And, it just makes you have to look at other ways. So difficult to pass on the track because of how good the teams are.
3 and 20, Dillon and Vickers left of the screen. That's for 11th and 12th. Right of the screen, you see for 3rd place, Kevin Harvick and Kyle Larson. Larson in that 32 trying to bounce back after a couple of tough weeks. Failed to finish last couple of races and could use a good run today.
And they've had some mechanical issues with that race car. I don't know what's been going on if they're trying some new things or what, but they've had some mechanical problems.
Leader in lap traffic. Eric McClure in the 14 giving way. 79 car is TJ Duke, making just his 3rd NASCAR Nationwide Series start today and his 1st here at the Monster Mile. Kyle Busch leading at Dover. Joey Logano trying to track it down. West rivals battle in Tuscaloosa tonight. Bo Wallace leads number 21 Ole Miss against A.J. McCarron and the top-ranked Crimson Tide. College football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. Ole Miss in Alabama tonight at 6:30 on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. That follows our race.
That'll be a good one, too.
Have to hurry back. That'll be a good one to watch. Kyle Busch out in front here at Dover in the 5-Hour Energy 200. He's got a lead of 6 seconds on Kevin Harvick in 2nd place. Kevin in a tight fight for that position over these last several laps, and it got kind of interesting in lap traffic. Have a look.
Sure did. Started down in turns 3 and 4. You see Logano was trying to take the spot away. Harvick goes high, then has to go to the middle.
Those moving chicanes you were talking about?
Exactly, yes. And Harvick perfected it right there. That's how you do it.
So he held off Logano, then passed Regan Smith for the 2nd spot, while Austin Dillon continues to pick his way through. Just got by Brian Vickers, and Dillon up to 9th place, while Sam Hornish runs back in 16th.
That's the kind of day that Austin Dillon's looking for, is that one where he could gain. Doesn't have to have Sam Hornish to have a problem. Just outrun him on the racetrack, be in front of him, and gain somewhere 5 to 8 spots, which are all a point.
Smith 7, Larson 32, Logano 22. That's 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and Logano kind of looks like his run from 18th up toward the front might have run out of steam a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like that was a good fix for him. I don't know if putting that rubber in there helped him on the short run to where he could be more aggressive, but now it maybe has gotten too tight. Or it could be the opposite. It still wasn't enough for him that all he would continue to get looser. We'll hear what he has to say whenever they get ready to pit again.
In the back end of that 32 hanging out when he tried to use the low lane to pass Smith. Nope, not again.
Yeah, Larson's been using that high line to run around. That's where Harvick had passed and moved on to the front.
Joey Logano clearing Kyle Larson. Logano now up to 4th. So we got 3 different pit strategies going here in this race at the moment. The race leader, Kyle Busch, who's not yet stopped in this race, and as the laps continue to run, the clock is ticking on his strategy. Then you've got a group who came in under the 1st caution at lap 26, and a group that came in under the 2nd caution at lap 37. That leapfrog, hopscotch pit strategy, and all of them kind of mixed in and among the front runners here.
Yeah, we heard Doc say that this team could go about 80 laps or so on fuel, and that's under green. We've had some caution laps, so Kyle Busch has got about 10 to maybe 15 laps before he's going to have to make a pit stop and possibly under green. Yeah, that's about right. About 84 laps is what they can go now with having those caution laps included in there.
And great feedback from the driver to help the crew chief make that call. That, understanding how much he was or wasn't saving.
Yeah, and I could have probably made the call not to change anything just by what I'm watching, but that was the easy side. But yeah, that is great information. And when it's driving like that, and the car is that good, you're not using as much fuel. You don't have a lot of wheel ends. You're not too tight. So that's great that Kyle gives them that, and they can adjust their strategy and lap count to that.
So there are the 3 different pit schedules going among the front runners, and we'll see how it all shakes out at the end of the 200 miles. But really interesting in the opening laps here, with crew chiefs playing different cards. Joey Logano through Regan Smith for third.
And on the left side of your screen, there's Landon Castle. He's one of the ones that's working the strategy. He's moving his way into the top 10 and hanging really tough. He just moved up to the 6th position. It's a great run for this small team.
Johnny Davis Racing.
Well, I mentioned earlier that Trevor Bayne could kind of sit there in that 6th spot. I saw his scorecard back there, but even though Landon does a great job, I really wasn't expecting him to be somebody that'd come up there and take that spot away, Dave, but they've got a good car.
And how about DJ on the tires that he started the race with? So when they came down pit road on lap 26, they did not change tires. So on that call, he's sort of on the same strategy as race leader Kyle Busch, but a great battle with Trevor Bayne goes to Castle right now.
And left side, Kyle Larson, 32, picking up 4th place from Regan Smith. Remember, Smith just changed 2 tires on his pit stop back at lap 26. Gained some track position in the leapfrog strategy. But maybe one of DJ's favorite sayings coming to play here. 2 tires on a good handling car is okay, but 2 tires on a car that's not handling is good.
Not so good. Right? But the same strategy is on the 32. He's on 2 tires as well.
How about it, Vince?
Well, when they put just 2 tires on that 7 car, it freed it up even more. So they are definitely talking about adjustments, track bar and air pressure to snug up the 7 of Regan Smith. They feel like they've had a good race car all weekend long, but the key is transitioning from fast in practice to fast in the race, and they haven't hit it quite right just yet.
Yeah, I heard Joey Logano say something in the pre-race about he understands what the offset is from practice to the race, how this racetrack changes. It's one of the reasons he's so successful, and I think that's what they're talking about here. This track is a lot different than it is in practice.
So Regan Smith hanging in there in 5th position behind Kyle Busch, who's out in front by 6 seconds over Kevin Harvick, with Joey Logano 6.5 seconds back in 3rd. Kyle Busch hoping for a caution flag, waiting to make his first pit stop of the race, but it might not come, and we might see the 54 on the pit lane under the green very shortly. Pit crews hard at work, most of them, though Kyle Busch's crew's only maybe sweating because they wear black uniforms. Our Nationwide Series 200 miler, Kevin Harvick, you're riding with Joey Logano, the bright yellow car just ahead. And Kyle Larson just behind them, actually in the middle of them now. That's how it's been in this little fight. Back and forth here for the runner-up spot.
Yeah, and I hope Kyle Larson there was kind of paying attention because he goes around on the outside, but that was a nice move that Joey Logano put on Kevin Harvick to take that 2nd spot away from him.
So Joey Logano started on pole, gave up the lead to Kyle Busch at lap 19. Made a pit stop while Busch has yet to, though that's about to change. Logano charging from 18th up to 2nd as Kyle Busch has to come in under the green.
What he needs is for this race to go green for everybody else now for about the next 30 lap.
35-mile-an-hour pit road speed limit on this narrow Monster Mile pit lane. Don't get tagged for speeding here. That'd make it even worse. Doc?
And they reminded him about being very careful getting on the pit road. He made it there, but had to make sure he didn't speed 35 miles an hour to 10 AV. It's going to be 4 tires here. They got to go 4 so they can go 2 on the final stop. Kyle said no changes. There are slipping, but just don't change a thing. Down and away, a little over 13 and a half seconds.
So we'll see where Kyle blends in here and how much it cost him.
Kyle Busch might be one of the best at getting off the racetrack and getting back on and saving as much time as possible. You can see right there, right to the limit.
Yeah, this is a difficult, tricky pit road to get onto. You carry a lot of speed, and you want to get as much as you possibly can. You can see Kyle got everything and didn't speed.
So Kyle falls back to 23rd place, a lap behind race leader Joey Logano.
And it looks like a couple of cars between him and the last car on the lead lap, so he may not be in that free pass position yet.
If the caution were to come out right now. He's about a lap and a half down to the race leader, is Kyle Busch. So, see how this plays out in the center section of the race. Championship stories playing out in an interesting way today, too. Austin Dillon is running 8th, while Sam Hornish is running back in 16th place and struggling.
Thank you guys for putting flat tires on it. 20 on the right, 50 on the left. That's 3 laps, 25.0. Another 25.0 there. Incredibly free. 4 out of 5. I'll wreck every end. Copy 4 out of 5.
Yeah, that's hard to drive around here and not wreck when the thing is that loose. You're still trying to attack, and this is where, as a championship leader and contender, you really have to show a lot of patience right now. You know it's going to be better, but it's so hard because you're wanting to go, and you know you're giving up points and spots right now.
Some more green flag pit stops, Dave.
Landon Castle had been running 5th, but he felt the right front going. You can see it coming off the car. It has corded. They gave that thing all that it would take, and so he immediately pitted once he felt that right front going. He'll take out 4 tires, and they'll loosen the car just a little bit with the chassis, but a great run for the Ford team.
And a good catch by the driver.
Yep. So Joey Logano, the race leader, pitted at lap 37. And projecting that forward means it's going to be another 20 laps or so before we see him on the pit lane.
Yeah, so this is kind of putting Kyle Busch in that vulnerable position for that amount of laps. If the caution comes out, it's going to kind of lock him down a lap.
Well, he'd take a wave around, and so he could get back on the lead lap because everybody would pit, but it's still not the optimal position. And the more laps they run, it's going to be worse for them because they're at some point going to have to make a pit stop 10.
They figure out a way to make it work most times, though. Just in 14.
This is 13th place. Justin Allgaier, 31. Alex Bowman, 99. Allgaier and this team, they've just been struggling to get results here this last month or so.
They sure have. It's kind of like the whole Turner Scott organization. It's just, haven't found something. They started out the year running pretty well, but as other teams progressed and found some things that worked, they've kind of been pretty stale, and that's costly.
And something I think's been kind of understated this year because the teams haven't really wanted to talk about it, but they had to develop a new body style, the Chevrolet teams did this year. And they don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to say, well, it's taken us a little while to catch up with, but they had to develop a new body style. And anytime you take that on, it makes your notebook a little uncertain.
Yeah, it's not a big change. It was just the upper part of that front fascia went from the Impala to the Camaro.
Yep.
And so it's just a styling change, but it has made a difference in the way these cars act aerodynamically, and some teams are struggling to catch up.
So Austin Dillon, second in the championship. Coming in on the day, they're running in 7th spot. Sam Hornish running in 15th, while Joey Logano leads, and Kyle Busch is trying to dig back out from a green flag pit stop. He's running a lap down in 20th place. halfway through the 5-Hour Energy 200 at the Monster Mile. Live at the 5-Hour Energy 200 at Dover for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. And we invite you to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy and catch all the action for the Monster Mile today with 10 HD live race views, live chat, and live leaderboard. So across the midway point of the race, and Joey Logano, the race leader, on one of 3 different pit strategies that we don't quite know how they're going to shake out. Depends where the next caution flies. For now, Logano last pitted at lap 37, has an 0.8 of a second lead over Kyle Larson, who last pitted at lap 26.
Copy, trying to hold on to the back of it, understand, still loose. And a one loose. 10-4, a one loose.
Well, since Hornish said his was 4 out of 5.
And his is a 1, and he's leading. Sam Hornish is running 15.
Perfect sense there. The one thing I have seen that it's affected Joey in traffic in particular, as he's caught some of these cars. He's not able to carry the speed on the exit of the corner. It's allowed Kyle Larson a couple of times to run up to the bumper and up the side of Joey Logano. Once he gets away from traffic, he's able to stretch it back out.
So people on the second of the 3 pit stop schedules, those that stopped at lap 26, now beginning to filter in, Vince.
Regan Smith coming in out of the 4th position. Still no grip, too loose on throttle. 4 tires going 1 round down on the track bar for the 7.
Austin Dillon in the 3, trying to get a spot on Trevor Bayne in the 6 as Kevin Harvick gives up 3rd place for a pit stop. Jamie?
Kevin Harvick started his day wrecking loose. They worked on it, made it a little bit better, but he's saying it's still loose. They're going to try a wedge adjustment this time. They'll put 4 tires on it. They'll fill them up with Sunoco fuel and see if they can get this car up to front. There's the chassis adjustment right there.
Place, Brian Vickers is in.
He had picked up about a half a dozen positions on his own on the track. Took 2 tires on lap 37, now 4 tires. Wedge adjustment for a race car that's tough to handle getting into the corners. It's very loose as he enters the corners.
And as Vickers leaves and you continue to watch that fight for position on the right side of your screen, Kyle Larson gives up 2nd for his stop. Doc?
Boy, how impressive is this rookie been. He said qualifying not my strong point. I qualified 17th, but once the race gets going, I figure it out. They're going to figure out how to put 4 tires on these Chevy right now. And by the way, they may have actually got 4 or 5 laps short of their fuel window. Stay the 2 car.
Ryan Scott was running in 12th, Doc. He said he was struggling with that race car, that it was very, very loose, and they made a chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change for Brian. Vince?
The 11 of Elliott Sadler needs more lateral rear grip, so they're going to make a chassis adjustment. It's also going to be a 4-tire change. They've been fighting the grip throughout the course of this race. They think they're going to take a big enough swing at it here to make it better.
Trevor Bayne started his day 18th, has been running in the top 10, saying he's just a little bit tight. There's the wedge adjustment. They'll fill him up with fuel. 4 tires once again for Trevor Bayne.
So that's everybody that was on the lap 26 stop strategy for their first visit to pit lane. Now the people that stopped at lap 37 under the second caution have the top spots on the leaderboard, but are only a few laps away from pitting, or maybe like right now. Joey Logano from the race lead. Was expected him about 117. They're going to come in a lap or 2 early. And this is what Kyle Busch needs to see. All these other guys hit the pit lane and the race stay green until these stops are done.
And Brad Sweet in the 5 making his way down pit road, saying he's just a little bit free. It's been his only complaint today. 4-tire stop. They'll fill him up with Sunoco fuel. You saw the tear off of the windshield there to make it a little bit clear. Fill him up with fuel and they'll wait on it. Let's go to Doc.
Joey Logano, they made a major adjustment with a rubber left left rear on the first 4-tire stop. It's also going to be a 4-tire stop. Joey said the car had gotten a little about a 1-3 on landing. 3, couldn't get up off the corner. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, get it completely full. They can make it, but it's going to be right on the number from here. They do not have fuel for a green-white checker.
Top 2 in the championship, Sam Hornish leaving the pit lane. Check that, just coming in, and Austin Dillon just coming in also. Doc?
Sam Hornish, you heard the comment that we have to make a major adjustment. He was a 4 out of 5 loose. They made only a 2 right-side tire change on the first stop. 4 tires, major casting adjustment for Sam. Jamie.
Austin Dillon in his pit box, just a little bit loose on exit. Car's gotten better the longer it's run. Had to wait on fuel. 14 and a half seconds there, they filled him up. Dave?
Making sure it's full of Sunoco fuel for Mike Bliss. They also made a track bar adjustment for a race car that was loose. Mike drove from 21st to the top 10 during that run. Vince?
The 31 of Justin Allgaier lacking lateral grip. They've been fighting it. It's a 4-tire change, big air pressure adjustment, 2.5 rounds of wedge as well. Got to snug it up for Allgaier. Jamie.
Alex Bowman doing a nice job this weekend. Qualified fourth, great effort for him. 4-tire stop here, 14.8 seconds. They filled him up. Car's been pretty good. Alan?
All right, Jamie, so the race staying green is going to cycle some things around as Kyle Busch continues to climb the leaderboard. Cole Witt and Michael Annett yet to pit here, and then Kyle will become the new race leader. Now, the other headline from this round of stops, championship leader Sam Hornish speeding on pit road. Going to have to do a pass-through penalty with the 12.
Ouch.
Yes.
And slowing down to come to pit road right now. That's a big mistake.
Michael Annett in, Jamie.
He started his day 15, saying the car has been good today. He hasn't wanted any changes. There they are as they work their way around the left side of the car. They said just leave it the way it is. They'll fill him up with fuel, put 4 tires on.
And the pass-through for Sam in the 12. Well, we'll let the scoring settle out and see where he's going to cycle back to, but that is big. When you only had a 15 place on the racetrack championship lead, that is big.
Yeah, he's having a bad day already. But that right there made it way worse.
And there's your new leader, Kyle Busch, back out in front of this race. It stayed green through an entire cycle of stops.
We're back on the lead lap here. We need to put as many as we can a lap down here. We got to pit one more time.
That's the key thing. A lot of cars that made that pit stop on lap 116, Joey Logano, can make it to the end of the race, but Kyle Busch cannot. So he's going to have to make an extra pit stop.
When will that happen? Will we see a caution flag? What other twists await in this championship story? A lot of racing still to go at the Monster Mile. It's a gorgeous day at Dover International Speedway today. Supposed to be just the same tomorrow for race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. See it right here, ESPN, starting with NASCAR Countdown at 1 Eastern Time. Next Saturday, the NASCAR Nationwide Series at the Mile and a Half Kansas Speedway will be here on ESPN starting at 3:30 Eastern. And over the weekend, the coverage of the AAA Insurance NHRA Midwest Nationals from St. Louis, qualifying tomorrow morning, 1 a.m. Eastern, ESPN News, and see final eliminations tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2 as the season winds down for the NHRA Drag Racing Series. Here at Dover, interesting series of events have played out through the first 2/3 of today's 200-miler. Kyle Busch, 54, is the race leader. Kyle stayed out on the first couple of cautions, got boxed into a strategy that forced him to pit under the green flag at lap 87, but the race stayed green until everybody else pitted. A lot of these cars, by the way, trying to unlap themselves on Kyle with fresher tires. And now Kyle has a lead of 5.4 seconds on Joey Logano and 6.4 seconds on Kyle Larson.
And there's one of the championship contenders in Austin Dillon trying to unlap himself from Kyle Busch there to get back on the lead lap.
So there's second place, and there's the gap. Joey Logano eating into Kyle Busch's lead as Kyle's tires age, and Joey's out there on the much fresher rubber.
He's coming hard, too. He's about a second a lap here. I know Kyle's in traffic, but his tires are quite a bit slower.
And Andy, you were talking about the different pit stop schedules and what it means projecting forward in the race.
Yeah, we'll project that forward. We're going to go ahead and assume that 22 car can make it to the end if they save a little fuel. I know that's what they were trying to do, was get inside that window. And so these are just our projections. I think that they can make it to the end. Obviously, Kyle Busch can.
Yep. And the other major story, the championship, where you saw Austin Dillon trying to get back on the lead lap. He's in 9th place right now, and after the pass-through penalty from speeding on pit road on his green flag stop, Sam Hornish is 2 laps down in 20th place.
Apparently our lights are right. Two reds, what we run every weekend. That's what I had. 1 red.
Talking about the tachometers in the car, that the engineers calculate the gear ratios and all that to what the pit road speed's supposed to be. And
yeah, and then they add 5 miles an hour because they give them that little buffer. And then they put it right on the line. You heard talk about red lights, green lights. They try to make those things just flicker, just so they take every bit of that margin they give them. Sometimes you go too far, though.
So 15-point lead for Hornish over Dillon starting the day would be cut down to just about a dead heat.
Yeah, and a big thing here, though, is Austin Dillon's back on the lead lap. He has spots that he can continue to make up. Sam Hornish down 2 laps. You're not going to get that back. They're going to have to do something, you know, to even get back into that 1-lap scenario, and probably not enough time with only 60 couple of laps to go in this race to make anything much of this day.
And you're going to need a few cautions to have any shot at it, because if you take a wave around, you can't pit, and so on. So you're going to need a few cautions to find a way to try and get back into it.
See Joey Logano now closing that lead fast on Kyle Busch.
Yeah, he's been struggling a lot in traffic in particular, Kyle. So this car isn't to his liking, this set of tires, and didn't make any adjustments, but I believe the track's changed. So.
And one thing Joey Logano can do, once he takes the lead from Kyle, he can start easing up quite a bit, saving some fuel. We saw our projections that he was really close to making it to the end of the race. By having this big advantage over the 54, he can back off a little bit.
You think any of this is Kyle saving fuel?
Well, there's no way he's going to make 113 laps to the end.
I've been watching him. What I see is just him really struggling with his car around other cars in particular. So I really don't think it's that, just because he knows that he's going to have to stop it.
And the other thing we heard from his crew chief saying, hey, run as hard as you can. Try to put as many cars a lap down because we have to make another stop.
Yeah. That's for the race lead. What a surprise. The Gibbs 50.
Really bad loose for a while here. Ever since these guys with fresh tires have come out, I've gone really loose. Come on, man. We're going to get a caution here. We're going to get you fixed up.
Well, it makes you run in different areas and back out in different areas as you're adjusting to those other cars around you, whether it's cars you're lapping or those cars that you're having to give way to that have the better tires. And we see Logano take the lead now.
That was seeing the inevitable coming and just giving him plenty of room, saying go on.
Waving the white flag.
Well, Logano back in the lead, Doc.
And Joey Logano has said that 4-tire change and wedge adjustment they made on the previous stop has gotten the car back exactly where he wants it, as evidenced by the fact that he just drove right by Kyle Busch. Logano is good on fuel, not great on fuel. And they are telling him to be careful and make sure he measures his fuel. He can make it to the checkered flag, but they'd be very concerned about a green-white checkered. And behind him, Kyle Busch, well, they're going to make one more stop. They can make it to about lap 165 or maybe 167, but they are hoping and praying for a yellow flag. And by the way, as you guys said, Kyle's car has really gone away. The rear end not gripping, not turning, coming up off, and slipping as he's exiting the corner. So he certainly got his hands full.
Yeah, I said Kyle waved the white flag, but he's not giving up. He's hanging in there. He just gave up the lead.
You know Kyle Busch isn't giving up on winning this race. Joey Logano's out in front. 56 laps to go. Likelihood of a late yellow flag? Well, yes, statistically. We'll see how this one plays out.
Welcome back to the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Dover. It's the 5-hour Energy 200 benefiting Living Beyond Cancer, breast cancer. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com For all of your latest NASCAR information, 49 laps to go with Joey Logano out front as we welcome you inside the Quicken Loans ESPN Pit Studio. I'm Nicole with Rusty and Brad. We have 49 to go, so it's a chance to get you caught up on what has happened so far in this race, starting with an adventurous start for Brian Scott.
Yeah,
we'll
really
call it that.
Take a look at him spinning off of turn 4 here right to the bottom of the racetrack. Doesn't hit anything. No harm, no foul. This cat got lucky right there.
And then he got lucky again.
Yeah, he did. Travis Pastrana bangs off the wall, gets into Brian Scott, knocks a little bit off the front bumper there, but he continues on. Both of those guys, not too much harm, a little bit of damage.
Kyle Busch has led 89 laps today. Got around Joey Logano early, but he is on a different pit strategy.
Yeah, he really is. He's on a different strategy than anybody out there. Right now, he's currently running second, but he's going to have to pit again pretty soon. But I don't know if I would have tried this strategy or not, Brad. It kind of makes me nervous for him.
Put himself in a tough spot because he's going to have to pit no matter what before we get to the end of the race and take fuel.
Points leader Sam Hornish Jr. started up front, but has been struggling all day with a very, very loose race car. And then trouble when they came down pit road just a few laps ago. Speeding penalty for Hornish.
And gosh, he's our points leader. We talked, you can't make mistakes at all, and he does one all by himself. Gets a speeding pit road penalty. Not a good deal for that 12 car.
Let's get up to speed with Nationwide Insurance. Doc, what do you got?
Well, Nicole, how impressive is this 21-year-old rookie Kyle Larson? He has 7 career top 5 finishes this year, including 2 second-place finishes. So this young man said, hey, we can win a race, and today may be the day. Now, the big question is, they've got a good race car, but can they make it on fuel? They have to go 88 laps. They have told Kyle Larson on the radio, Trent Owens has said, we can make it. But looking in Trent's face, I'm not sure even he believes they can make it that far. Gonna be close. Dave.
Doc, drivers hate to wait, and right now that's what Brian Vickers is having to do with his race car. Getting into the corner, it's fine, but right about here, coming off the corner, he has to wait. That nose just wants to push toward the wall, and he has to wait for it before it'll catch and turn. One more adjustment maybe if they pit. Not quite sure now what their fuel situation is on the 20. They're trying to correct the car if they can, Jamie.
And Austin Dillon started his day third. He's been a little bit loose all day. Now, he last pitted on lap 117, and since then he's gained 8 spots. Now, as they currently run, Austin has gained 11 points on Sam Hornish Jr., sits just 4 behind him for the point lead. They're telling their driver right now, be smart, think big picture. Vince?
Well, and what an adventure it's been for the 60 of Travis Pastrana. We showed you just a few moments ago the wall contact he had on the right side. But he's also had to pit twice today because his radio isn't working. They had to give him a new radio to plug in, but they now believe that it's his push-to-talk button which has malfunctioned. There's no communication between Pastrana and his team, making this tough track even more difficult. Doc?
And we mentioned the points leader coming into the day. Sam Hornish, there he is, right side of your screen, has had issues with the handling on the car. 2 loose, 2 tires first stop, then 4 tires. The car is much better, but just a moment ago, he was told we are 2 laps short on fuel, Sam. You have got to save. We're a half a gallon shy of making it. Could be trouble for him. Nicole?
We just heard Alan say before that we could expect a caution, at least according to history, but keep this in mind. What we're seeing right now is the longest green flag stretch of the 2013 season.
Wow, wow.
Pretty incredible. We'll be back with the final 40 from Dover in just a few.
Monday Night Football has a battle of undefeated teams. Ryan Tannehill leads the surprising Dolphins into the Big Easy to face a resurgent Drew Brees and the Saints. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6:30 Eastern, then Miami, New Orleans at 8:25 on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. Live on ESPN right now, the NASCAR Nationwide Series 200-miler at Dover International Speedway, the Monster Mile. And Joey Logano, trying to set an all-time track record, is out in front. Logano's won the last 3 straight races for this series at this racetrack. Nobody's ever won 4, and certainly not 4 in a row.
Just watching his lap times, though, he's running really fast laps. I would have thought that he would have slowed up by now, trying to save fuel to make it to the end. And I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't know if he's got enough to make it where he can run hard, or whether he's running hard because he knows he can't make it without making another stop.
pitted earlier. Sorry, they pitted earlier than I thought they were going to.
A couple laps earlier, yep. Well, Doc is down in the Penske pits. What are they saying, Doc?
Well, they told Joey about what's what Andy was saying a moment ago. They told him about 10 laps ago, hey, Joey, just sit and ride. Sit and ride. You got to manage your fuel, buddy. You got enough to make it to checker flag, but after that, we're short. So just sit and ride and take it easy, but he's riding pretty quick right now.
I want a little more cushion because I don't see any value in trying to put a distance on Kyle Busch. He knows he has to make another pit stop regardless. So there's no value in making a bigger gap there.
Sometimes these things are just so fast you can't even back off.
Can't slow them down.
Is that what it is?
Can't do it.
Well, certainly this 22 team has been fast this summer. It's really been impressive what they've done with this Penske team, winning races with multiple drivers and winning a lot of races with multiple drivers.
Real impressive. I just can't get over the success they've had. Okay, that sounds like Kyle Busch possibly getting ready to make a pit stop.
Yep. Kyle last pitted lap 87. We're at 171 now.
Yeah, seeing how far they're going here, I think they'll look back on that strategy and realize that would have been worth the gamble at that time, that they could have made it here.
This one's not going to work out if you have to make a green flag stop.
No.
Just joining us, Kyle did not pit on the first two cautions of the race at laps 26 and 37 when everyone else did. They ended up having to pit under the green flag at lap 87, shy of halfway, and that's put him on a strategy of needing one more stop to make it to the checkered flag when everybody else is now probably pretty good or pretty close to the finish. Solid run for Kyle Larson, running in third place. He's 11 seconds behind, and we feel like pedaling it to save some fuel based on when he pitted last and the reports up from the pit lane.
Yeah, he has had a solid run, very good. You know, we expected him back here in June after the performance he made at Bristol early in the year, almost winning that race. He didn't really perform that, but he's come here today, and they have a much better car, certainly the best of the Turner Scott cars, and doing an outstanding job. But right now, probably just having to save some fuel.
So those the top three: Regan Smith, Kevin Harvick, Elliott Sadler, Brian Vickers. The only other cars on the lead lap, just 7 on the lead lap at the moment.
A solid day for Regan Smith also in points-wise.
On the pit lane, Kyle Busch.
And with 25 laps to go, Dale, you're right. They'll look back and see that they could have made it had they made that stop under caution.
Well, Doc, strategy cost them possibly the win here in June, and it's going to cost them again today.
Boy, has it ever. Alan, the all-time winningest driver in Nationwide Series history, hoping to get his 4th win at Dover. Probably not going to happen. Chassis adjustment. Kyle said it was free in, free off. They stayed as long as they could on the racetrack. Now he's made that stop. But boy, is he in trouble right now. 24 laps to the checkered flag.
That's a good stop, though. 12.4.
That's Joey Logano, the yellow 22, going off into turns 1 and 2. You should see Kyle Busch come up just ahead of him on the racetrack. Kyle is entering 3, Logano on the backstretch now. So Kyle is going to be 1 and
no fuel issues. We're just going to take care of it here.
Almost a second lap down.
No fuel issues. Just going to take care of it. 11.
Elliott Sadler going a lap down, 6th place.
I need you just slow up just a little. Just decide to pace yourself here. Just need to pace yourself. We'll get to the end.
We'll see what kind of a pace Joey Logano continues to run as he tries to win a 4th straight here at the Monster Mile. Now, Nicole mentioned that a bit ago. Well, we've now run the longest green flag stretch ever in Nationwide Series competition at this track that goes back to the very first year of the series in 1982. Wow. Joey Logano's lead is 10 seconds on Kyle Larson. We've just seen Regan Smith on and off the pit lane as we get into the closing laps. And now the question becomes, who else is going to have to dive in for a splash of gas? We think Larson might have to, but there's only 4 laps difference between when Larson pitted and when Logano pitted.
Yeah, 4 laps long time.
you know,
But he's been running slow laps over 25 seconds for a lot longer time than what Joey Logano has. So I think he's been saving fuel throughout this run, realizing what they had to do.
Who was that? That was Nelson Piquet sliding sideways off of 4 there.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them be challenged off that corner now. They got a lot of laps and been running under green flag for a long time.
All these cars passing through, waiting to get back to Kevin Harvick in 3rd place, 23 seconds behind Joey Logano, nearly a full lap.
We're good on fuel? Close. Matters how much we saved. We're thinking it's going to be right on the money. And we're about 5 short when we pitted it. I'm not sure how much you saved there, Kevin. It should be close.
5's a lot. You got to be pedaling quite a bit for a long time, almost throughout the run if you're going to save that much. How about this, Jamie?
And after that, you heard the team say, well, just go for it. If we run out, we run out. After all, he is running in this series just to win races.
Yeah, nothing to lose. I have a feeling he's not going to make it, though.
So Kevin Harvick in 3rd, Brian Vickers in 4th. Vickers last pitted at lap 111. Looking to go 89 laps on a tank of fuel. Update on Vickers from Dave.
They have not told him to save fuel, but gas man Scott Wood just put the helmet on. He's ready to go if they need a splash here at the end. Sounds like Brian might be trying to ride it out, but he's doing well in 4th.
Yeah, another team that, I mean, although they're running for the championship, they got nothing to lose. This is a gamble that they have to take to try to get themselves somewhere within range in these next races.
Yeah, they got about 37-point cushion to the next car behind them. So, yeah, this is a gamble worth taking.
Brian's the last car on the lead lap, 4th place. There's Joey Logano, the race leader, right up behind him. And again, this extraordinarily long green flag run that we've seen that's taken us inside of 10 to go.
Still haven't even seen this 22 car back off as much as what I thought they would with an 11-second lead. They've still been running laps around 25-20, and they could afford to give up a second a lap with that for a long time.
Yeah, they've actually extended their lead over Kyle Larson. And if I was the crew chief, I would be saying, hey, back it off, give me some more. I would try to use all of that lead to my advantage just to try to save as much fuel as possible, just in case we have a late caution.
Nationwide Series Championship picture today, Austin Dillon running in 6th place, last pitted at lap 117. Sam Hornish running back in 17th place, pitted at 119, but Hornish has had a pit road speeding penalty today. And he came in with a 15-point lead in the championship. If things finish as they are now, he's going to leave with a 4-point lead. That's just 4 places on the racetrack with what will be a handful of races to go. Doc?
And they are very, very nervous watching Sam here in these final 7 laps. They've told him, Sam, you've got to save us a half a gallon. Sam has backed it way down, but they don't know how much he saved. Neither does Sam. He said, actually, we're about 2 laps shy. We're hoping they can make it. Jamie?
And the man who's chasing Sam Hornish Jr. in the points, Austin Dillon, just 4 points back right now. They're telling their driver, just be smart, keep thinking big picture. Meanwhile, his crew chief, Danny Stockman, told him, we're good on fuel, and there's a lot of cars that aren't, so keep digging.
Yeah, if Hornish ends up having to stop, he could lose another 3 or 4 spots. Make this championship even closer if the 3 cars able to make it.
That's what I'm saying. They're probably nervous, too.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if Hornish pitted at 116, and that's the team car to Logano, who pitted at 116, and Hornish is saying they're a half a gallon shorter. They're definitely, they're worried about it. And Logano is out here maybe not saving as much fuel as you would think you'd see in the lap times.
Yeah, but one thing that happens, drivers have different driving styles that save, use a different amount of fuel. I mean, I've had drivers like Dale Earnhardt used a lot of fuel. Harry Gant was a driver I had that could get the best gas mileage of anybody with the same car. So that's really the big difference.
Yeah, both of them leading races and doing the same thing, yes.
3 laps to go. 2 things, Nationwide Series Team Championship. 22 is going to gain some ground on 54. Penske on Gibbs if this finishes the same way. And, of course, Joey Logano trying for that 4th straight win here at Dover. Let's talk team first. 10 wins different drivers for this 22 team. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen, really, ever in this series. I mean, you got some, Jeremy Bullins is doing such a great job with this car and team. To take 4 drivers to victory lane is absolutely incredible.
And you heard Joey Logano tell us just before the start of the race that everything about this Monster Mile suits his driving style. He sure does seem to have a feel for it.
He sure does. Knows exactly what he's looking for and got it in this 20 car once again. And there's the man that gives it to him, Jeremy Bullins.
White flag's up. Does he have enough gas to make it another mile around at Dover and set the record for 4 consecutive wins? Underpowered in the final corners.
I think he can coast from here.
4 straight at this most difficult of tracks. Checkered flag for Joey Logano at Dover.
Race winner, 4 in a row. You did a hell of a job. Just don't block the front stretch so you get an ambulance across.
Good job, guys. Domination. 4 in a row. Come on. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Just follow up on that. Dover does not have a tunnel from the infield. There is a drive-over gate right by the start-finish line, and there is a medical vehicle that officials want to move across the racetrack. So they've asked the teams, you see the medical vehicle there coming out from the infield care center. And they're stopping the competitors on the racetrack to allow that medical vehicle to get out of the racetrack as quickly as possible. And all the team drivers respectfully following that request from NASCAR. Well, 4 straight at this racetrack. A race that started with Joey on the pole, but he faded back a little bit in the opening laps, and then they played the circumstances and the adjustments right.
Yeah, they had to adjust the car. It wasn't right in the first run. They were really kind of down to the 54. It looked like that Kyle Busch's team had a better car, had the winning car, just not the winning strategy. That's really two races in a row that has turned out that way.
And he's done it with a couple of different teams. There's Jeremy Bullins. What a fantastic job this young man's done with this race team. The challenge of having different drivers and their styles and dealing with all of them, the personalities, everything that goes along with that. And they just can keep continuing to win.
Hurt so good, buddy. Hurt so good. Nice job.
I saw Joey Logano down to the grid for qualifying today, and he said to me, has anybody ever won 4 straight races here? And I said, well, nobody's ever won 4, period, in this series. He said, no, ever, period. He said, you're going to need to know that today.
He was confident, wasn't he?
Well, he was appreciative of what he had the chance to do, I think. And right, you look at, Richard Petty, Bobby Allison, Jimmy Johnson have won 7 races here on the Sprint Cup side. Nobody's ever won 4 straight. 4 of the last 7 races with 4 different drivers, won by the Penske team led by crew chief Jeremy Bullins. He's going to victory lane to greet his driver Joey Logano after a record-setting day in Dover. At the list of people that Joey joins the company of now that have won 4 straight at a track in Nationwide Series history, Ellis and Ingram and Earnhardt and Martin and McMurray and Kyle Busch. That's a pretty good roster, a pretty good club to be in. Joey's in victory lane at Dover. He sure knows how to get there.
Nice finish on Kyle Larson standing a couple of times. I know you have
Well, his career began here 5 years ago at the age of 18, May of 2008. And Joey Logano, not Richard Petty or Bobby Allison or Jimmy Johnson. No one has ever won 4 in a row at Dover, Delaware. You did it today. What does this mean to you and this team?
It's a huge deal. These guys have given me a great Hertz Ford, and man, what a fast car, and you have that big of a lead, and that few of cars on a lead lap. You just assume the caution's going to come out at some point. You're waiting for it, and it never happens. So, it's just a fast car. Jeremy Bullins, this whole 22 team, they've shown all year they got what it takes to win this Owners' Championship, and today's a big help to that.
And I just want to thank Hertz, Discount Tire, Ford, Shell Penzo, all the guys that help us out in this 22 team. It's a big help for us, and just fun being in Victory Lane and getting 4 in a row here. It's my favorite racetrack, obviously my favorite racetrack, but even when I barrel rolled down the backstretch, it was my favorite place. So just have a lot of fun here, and a lot more fun when you win too.
Now, you made some folks nervous. They told you to manage your fuel. Even though you had a bit of a buffer, you were still running some pretty quick laps here in the final 25 or so. Were you concerned at all about making it?
I don't know. I was just going off what Jeremy said, and we try to talk the least amount as possible on the radio. So they're giving me intervals of how far the second place car was, and I'm trying to check up, and you're trying to just kind of run your pace and make sure you don't kill your tires in case there is a caution and you have something left on it. So this is all about these guys. They gave me the piece that I needed today.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Joey Logano, 4 in a row here, Alan. And what about this 22 team? 11 wins with 4 different drivers here in 2013. Amazing.
Isn't that something? What an incredible run over the summer of 13 for Penske Racing and for Joey Logano here at Dover over these last 2 years. Logano has another shot here at the Monster Mile tomorrow when race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup unfolds on this very same track. Joey starting 11th in that one. You can join us on ESPN starting at 1 Eastern time for NASCAR Countdown, and we'll see how this race impacts the championship picture. Next Saturday, NASCAR Nationwide Series onto the 1.5 mile in Kansas City, Kansas. ESPN at 3:30 Eastern. And don't forget our coverage of the AAA Insurance NHRA Midwest Nationals this weekend from St. Louis. Qualifying tomorrow morning at 1 a.m. ESPN News, and the final eliminations tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. More post-race coverage from the Monster Mile coming up after Joey Logano's win today. To the winner goes the burnouts and the trophy, and well-deserved today for Joey Logano here at the Monster Mile. We'll talk with more of the top finishers in today's race in a minute after we remind you that tonight the nation's longest winning streak is on the line in Columbus, Ohio. Sophomore sensation Melvin Gordon leads the Badgers against Urban Meyer's undefeated Buckeyes in Saturday Night Football presented by Windows. Number 23 Wisconsin and number 4 Ohio State from the shoe tonight at 8 Eastern on ABC. Here's how they ran today in Dover for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Logano with the win, his 4th win and 4th consecutive here at Dover, and his 3rd win of this season.
Yeah, nice to see Brian Vickers and Elliott Sadler get some things good, and at least get some good finishes out of that.
Yeah, Mike Bliss, top 10. Good run for him and Trevor Bain. Mike Kelly worked a strategy to get him a top 10 finish.
There are the rest of the top 20 runners. Regan Smith 15th after the late splash for fuel. And the runner-up today, Kyle Larson, is with Vince.
3rd, 2nd place finish of the season for Kyle Larson. Track position was king. You got it early. How good was the car down the stretch?
Yeah, Trent made a really good call there early in the race to gain us a lot of spots, and we were able to be lucky enough to get a really long green flag run. And we were good on a long run. I raced with 22 there for a little bit for the lead. I wanted to lead a lap. I thought that would have been pretty cool to drive by the best car of the field. But we'll take a second. It's been I feel like what's been a month of bad races, so it feels good to get a second in our LiftMaster Chevy, and just thank everybody on this whole team for working their butts off yesterday, and thank Nationwide Insurance for all they do for our series, and thank all the fans. I know that 22 is pretty dominant, but I had a lot of fun out there.
It was fun watching it. Well done. Kyle Larson finishes 2nd.
Well, Kevin Harvick brings it home 3rd today, and you were wrecking loose to start, but you told me you felt like this, you could tell that it was going in the direction of a long green flag run. How could you tell early?
Yeah, sometimes you just get that feeling because the cars were driving pretty evil today, and our Stake Easy Chevrolet was evil as well. We got the car better, but it was still way too loose, but we went into kind of a fuel conservation mode there pretty early in that last run, just for the fact that the 4th place car was right in front of us, and there was really nobody coming from behind us. So we were able to get a good chunk of fuel there at the beginning, and then save some fuel at the end. As the 20 got to us, we were able to pick the pace back up to where we needed to.
I know you were struggling a bit in practice with your Cup car. Did you learn anything here that maybe you guys can try tomorrow?
I was pretty happy with my Cup car in the 2nd session. As the racetrack widened out, our cars seemed to get better. So this is still a rhythm racetrack, so you can take a lot from today as a driver, and just kind of know tomorrow you need to be ready to have your hands full all day.
All right, Kevin Harvick's next race in the Nationwide Series will be in Charlotte.
Maybe not in all the top kind of day that Elliott Sadler would have liked to have had, but in the end result, it's a top 5 finish. How would you describe the day you had today?
Well, I'll tell you what, we came in the first race and really struggled, and the guys really worked hard to come back this time with our one-man financial Toyota, and we were really loose the first run. We came in, pitted early, made a big adjustments to it. Then the car was pretty good. Then it got loose again at the end, but great adjustments by my guys. Really proud of Chris and the guys. Worked on it through the pit stops. We had great pit stops. Those guys are really on it on pit road, and that helped us with track position. But all in all, we'll take this top 5. It's probably a weaker track for us, and we'll move on to Kansas.
Yeah, they had their hands full, but they persevered. Elliott Sadler, 5th today.
Vince thanks those most of the top 5 drivers as the Miles the Monster Trophy is passed out and the long succession of photo ops begins in Victory Lane. And as the fans begin to file out of the Monster Mile today, just a handful of races remaining to determine who'll be the Nationwide Series champ, and those are the places you can find those races. Join us at the track from Kansas to Homestead, Miami. 1-866-GO-NASCAR or NASCAR.com/tickets. What does that championship picture look like after this day in Delaware? Well, Sam Hornish finished 17th. Austin Dillon finished 6th. What was a 15-point lead is now less than a handful.
Yeah, he's closed it up just like I said, dead heat. You got a couple of drivers within, just outside of a race behind.
Going to be interesting as we go to Kansas next Saturday. Let's check with Vince.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the kind of day that Sam Hornish was hoping to have, that's for sure. And at times, Sam, it looked as though it was going to be worse than 17th. What's your perspective on the takeaway of the way things swung today?
We had a variety of different issues. You qualified really well. The car was right on where we needed to be. And something happened with that first 50 laps where when we decided to take 2 tires there, the car just wouldn't handle it all after that. We ended up losing a lap under green, and then I was trying to get everything I could out of it to be able to make up for it. And with our pit road speeds that we run at, I felt like we were well within where we were at. And sometimes we can miss with that just a little bit, whether the tire size, how our gearing is all done, and just popped up over it a little bit and had to do the drive-through. But at the end of the day, the drive-through only cost us about 4 spots. Within the 2 tires is what hurt us, and we just need to be able to sit down, look at it, figure out how we need to be better. I feel bad for the guys, obviously, because we didn't get out of it today what we could have, and our Snap-on Ford Mustang was actually pretty good, much better than where we finished at. And I love working with their tools, but when we've had them on the car this year, it hasn't been that great of luck. But we really appreciate what they do for us in Penske Racing. And we'll move on to next weekend. We'll try to figure out how to be better and not let it happen to us again.
Take us back to the pit lane speeding penalty. No speedometers in the car, obviously. How do you exactly calibrate and then read those lights, if you will, when it comes to making sure you don't go over the pit lane speed limit?
Our techs actually have a lighting system, and it's basically a row of about 6 lights, and they'll light up sequentially in yellow, then green, and then red. And how we normally set it is so that we're showing at least 2 reds, so that when you get up there and you can kind of pop, that doesn't try to reset itself. And I was running along with only 1 lit up and felt like I was pretty close to the speed limit and where we needed to be at. But after that happened, I was looking for anything to get a caution. I was like, I might have to pull this ESPN camera out and get some debris on the racetrack. But 150 laps under green, basically to finish off that race. I mean, you don't see that happen. And that's one of the toughest things about exactly what happened to us today is we had no time to make up for anything that went wrong because it went green for the last 150 laps.
Well, we do thank you for not throwing the ESPN camera out the window to draw that caution for sure. But I know it wasn't the day that you wanted, but that's what makes it exciting as we go final 5 weeks.
Yeah, it does. And, obviously not the day that we wanted, but this sport's all about growing and how to make yourself better. And, I mean, it's just one of those things where that's how days go. If things generally go well, you have a good day. They go bad, and it just kind of keeps compounding itself because then you try to make up. So the thing that we need to remember, next time is that, just deal with the problem we have. Don't make another one.
Yeah, he's still the points leader, but it's gotten tight. Let's go to Jamie.
Austin Dillon brings it home 6th today. How hard is it for you, though, just to be patient and think big picture championship when you want to pass those guys out on the track?
Well, it's pretty tough, but, we just kind of got off on pit strategy early. It can go either way, but they did a good job of making sure we had fuel to the end. Like I said, you knock down consistent finishes, you're going to get those points days that are good for you. So really proud of the Advocare team, and, we had a good car today. I think we had top 3 times all day is what my crew chief is telling us. So wish we could have got up there and ran a little bit, but we'll take it, especially for a good points day.
5 races remaining. Looking at that big picture, how do you feel like you guys will stack up for this championship to the finish?
You know, we've done a great job all year long of being consistent and getting our cars faster, and we got some really good tracks for us. So I'm really excited. I want to thank Nationwide Insurance, Tagwear Eyewear, Advocare, and everybody back at the shop, ECR, RCR. They've done a great job of giving us equipment that can go out here and contend each and every weekend.
Great job today. Gained 11 points today. He's 4 points back from Sam Hornish Jr.
All right, Jamie, thanks. And then let's talk about how we see this championship picture playing out over the final 5 races. 4 of the 5 are on mile-and-a-half racetracks. Does anybody have the upper hand? How do you see it?
Well, I think if you look at just performance, you would think that Sam Hornish and his team probably do, but you can't make mistakes. That's going to be the one thing, whether it's on the racetrack, on pit road, whatever cost him there. You can't afford to have that happen. But Austin Dillon's going to be right there. They're not going to give up. He understands he raced for a championship last year, and he knows what it's going to take. He's used to that pressure, and let's see if the young man can handle it.
I was kind of worried about Sam Hornish's team kind of getting fractured over this and losing more than just the points they lost today going forward and losing confidence in each other. But after I watched Sam's interview, I felt a lot better about that. I think Sam had a great attitude about it, realized he made just a mistake and going to go ahead and learn from it and not make it again. So I think they're in a good position to take it down to the wire, but I think Austin's going to give him a run.
Now, neck and neck with those handful of races left to go for the championship. It's going to be fun to see how it does play out. Heard from all of the top 5 finishers today except Brian Vickers, and Jamie's going to talk to him now.
Well, Brian Vickers brings it home 4th today, and what a long green flag run for you guys. Talk about your day and assess. You guys ended up being the last car on the lead lap.
I know. Well, I knew that part towards the end of the race, and we were racing the 22 there for about 30 laps, and I thought in open track we were as good or better. Dollar General Toyota was really good today, but when we came across the finish line, they said nice top 4th, and I'm like, 4th? The leader was right behind me. But the guys did a great job and made the most of it, and thankful for that because now all the DollarGeneral.com customers get 10% off on Monday.
That's a great thing, and we will see you in the Cup car tomorrow. Brian Vickers, 4th.
Jamie, thanks. Joey Logano with his 4th straight win here at Dover in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, the fastest ever 200-miler for that series on the Monster Mile. He departed for his motor coach without comment today. Kyle looking for a big race tomorrow along with all the other drivers as we get set for 400 miles for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Oh, one other thing too, that medical vehicle leaving a member of Morgan Shepherd's pit crew was injured and they were transporting that crew member. No further updates at this time on that. Quick thought on tomorrow's 400 miler.
Well, just as we saw a record set today, we may see one set tomorrow with the first driver to win the first 3 races of the chase with Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, but all you junior fans tune in. He was good in practice.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And he starts on pole position. That's tomorrow. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series starting at 1 Eastern time here on ESPN. College football scoreboard is next. Joey Logano started on pole today, seeking a record 4th straight Nationwide Series win at the Monster Mile. And after an early series of caution flags, put Kyle Busch on a pit strategy from which he could not recover. Logano ran through the longest green flag stretch of the season, 160 laps without a yellow on a tough track to score that record-setting 4th win. Logano in victory lane. We'll see you tomorrow here at Dover.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.